Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned with what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable web of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea.
Really right thing to do, that's dishonest and it's cult-like. But aside from that, it's not helpful. The best way to change someone's mind, someone who is racist or homophobic or has racist or homophobic tendencies, is not to call them racist or homophobic, but to engage with them on a friendly human level, like the wonderful Daryl Davis, who literally befriends KKK members, like the racist of the racists, and even collects their hoods.
You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I am sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations.
Maybe a quick PSA that is really a response to the number of people that I see saying, not all white people are racist. And this is white people as well as black people that love to say this. And I'm just here to let you know, public service announcement, yes, all white people. All white people are racist. And the reason why all white people are racist is because all white people are born into and raised in a racist white supremacist society that instills racist white supremacist ideals within them.
That's right. Sarin is able to decide that every single white person in the world is racist. She knows before ever meeting or interacting with any of these white people that they've all been raised in a racist society. And without meeting these people, or interacting with them, is able to decide that these people have knowledge that needs to be unlearned. Soren, is there a possibility that perhaps you're the one that's displaying?
I know you are, but what am I? 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 Infinity.
I am sure that none of you would want to rest content with this superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with effects and does not grapple with underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternatives.
Big picture and be parsimonious. You even have to be willing to work with racists and unpleasant means for the greater good. Like 100 years ago during the first Women's March on Washington, when black women had to march in the back. Letting them march anywhere, of course, would have been the just thing to do, but given the racist climate of the time, this would have undermined the entire movement from the perspective of the racist majority. The ends, achieving suffrage, justified the means, marginalizing black women.
We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have yet to engage in a direct action campaign that was well-timed in the view of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation. For years now I have heard the word, wait. It rings in the ear of every Negro with piercing familiarity. This wait almost always meant never. We must come to see, with one of our distinguished jurists, that justice too long delayed is justice denied.
How can you possibly justify the idea that it's somehow racist to disagree with Black Lives Matter, and yet it's not racist when a black person tweets something like, kill all white people? Why do you think every cis white male is born racist? Racism is a learned behavior. How can you possibly say that the phrase all lives matter is somehow racist? It sounds like something the Dalai Lama would say. In your version of equality, will white men ever have a voice in society, or will white men always be too privileged to participate in discussion? Have you ever considered that using the terms racism and sexism as haphazardly as you do to describe everything under the sun that makes you feel uncomfortable devalues the word to the point that it actually hurts the people who actually suffer from real sexism and real racism? Have you ever fucking thought of that?
We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything that Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. it was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. Even so, I am sure that had I lived in Germany at the time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers. I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's greatest stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action," who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who believes in a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than the absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that the present tension in the South is a necessary phase of the transition from an obnoxious negative peace, in which the Negro passively accepted his unjust plight, to a substantive and positive peace, in which all men will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. Actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open, where it can be seen and dealt with, like a boil that can never be cured so long as it is covered up, but must be opened with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light. Injustice must be exposed, with all the tension its exposure creates, to the light of human consciousness and the air of national opinion before it can be cured.